Winter in Vintage Story. It's calm, it's beautiful, and you can't do half the shit you want to do because of the cold. What do you mean? So, I just need to focus on prepping for spring and do all the tedious work now? Well, that's a genius idea, my emergency meal. I'll get working. But first, by now you should know the drill. Let's have a peek at those comments. Lily de Feu. I get what you mean, but in my defense...
I'm kinda retarded.
Vexter7. I promise you, one day I will, even though to this day I still haven't made one. Josh, my boy, you are welcome, and I really hope you aren't dying though. Else, you wasted your wish on this idiot, and that would be stupid. Squiddy92. I'll see what I can do. You are quite a high demanding person for a squatter. The guy from Saturn. It is indeed true that I fumbled with my armor, and I did follow your advice to make lamel armor. Besides the armor, the panning on the bony soil would be great.
If I had one!
And before you say where to find them, I already looked everywhere and only got 14 of them, which only gave me 10 fibers. I ain't doing that again. For now, I guess. Alright, let's get going with the video. As winter has come and my tasks that I can do effectively became more limited, I focused on mining. Because you see, winter lasts around 3 months. 3 in-game months to be specific. I know, shocking knowledge. Don't thank me for it. And in Vintage Story, if you're playing on default settings, that should be around 27 hours. So round it up to 30, and that's the time I got before I finally can start managing my farm and get more fibers. And why do I need those fibers, you might ask? Well, because those will help me automate a lot of stuff with windmills, allow me to create better healing items, and repair my clothes. And all of those required a buttload of fibers to make. So until then, let's go mining and gather plenty of resources so I don't have to do that later. Remember the copper I found a couple of episodes ago? Well, that's where this whole episode is going to take place. Mostly that is. But before we start mining, I need to explain a temporal stability mechanic that I'll have to keep a track of. You see that blue wheel at the middle? Well, that's my temporal stability, and if it reaches 0, I actually don't know what's gonna happen, but the lower it goes, the worse my screen gets, the more and stronger enemies spawn, and the louder that bell sounds go. It's like I'm being dragged into another realm, like those temporal storms that hit every month. And I'm not risking that yet, so until then I have to keep it above 0. And without knowing what's going to happen if it reaches 0, I won't risk it. So until then, I have to keep it above 0. Now, how would you do that, you might ask? Well, 1. Don't interrupt me, you impatient little twerp. And 2. Well, either by going to the surface where there are no temporal instabilities, unaliving those drifters, or destroying a blue temporal cog with a knife. So basically, if the wheel turns right, it goes up. If it turns left, it goes down. Sadly, while those cogs are the best way to regain temporal stability without risk, they are also hard to come by, and I'd rather store them for later. Going up to the surface is required, but it is a big time sink that I'd rather only use to empty my inventory or get new tools. So that only leaves me with one option: the drifters. A couple of episodes ago, Clown of War advised me to place rock fences to prevent them from spawning so I don't get backstabbed. But in my case, I need them to spawn, without the backstabbing of course. Funny enough, here is where my Minecraft experience will come in handy. You see, even in Minecraft, I didn't really play the game by its meta, because that would make the game less fun. In Minecraft, and therefore also now in Vintage Story, when I mine an area and there is no resources left, I condemn that area with a wooden wall. However, I always leave a door so I can access it again in case I need something from behind the door or if I need a safe place to hide. The areas that I mine out are optimal for mob spawning. When my stability gets low, I just need to open the door and get rid of those drifters in a safe-ish way. You see, the door funnels the enemies in a straight line and usually they're already door camping it, so I know what's behind the door. And with the bonus, Bowthorns, the ranged variant, and Shivers, the coke-infused ones, can't get through the door. That way, I only have to face one type of enemy, and it makes fighting a lot easier. But don't get me wrong, occasionally mobs do spawn outside those areas, but it's a lot less than usual. So it's a lot more manageable, which saves me a lot of time respawning. Besides the condemned areas, I also made a road that connects everything, and I placed a light source on the same side to find my way back. How does that work? Well, it's simple. If I want to go down, I need to follow the road and keep the lights on my left. And if I want to go up, I need to follow the road again, but this time keep the lights on my right. It's a simple trick that comes in handy, and I do advise you to use it if you haven't already. Because you never know what might happen in the depths of the mines, and with a sure way to find your way back, it gives you a little bit more leeway in case something goes wrong. Now, while mining a lot of copper, I'm also discovering in-game ore like titanium and chromium, which require a tier 5 steel pick to mine. And currently I'm only using a copper pick, which is tier 2. So, that leaves me at the next point, which is tiers. And to begin with, let's start with enemy tiers. Currently, as far as I know, enemies range from tier 0 to tier 4. The bigger the tier, the more health I have and the harder they hit. And it's not a small difference, because it goes from tier 0 from ow, that stings a little, to tier 4 from oof, that was a one shot. But on the other hand, the higher the tier, the more temporal stability you regain and the more chance on loot. So it's a high risk, high reward system. Now, to recognize the drifters, you'll have to either look at the tooltip on the top when pointing at them, or just memorize them how they look like. I prefer the second option, since my brain will be panicking too much to read those small letters on top. And honestly, it's not too hard to spot the difference. The more disturbed and darker they look, the higher the rank. And if you're not sure, well, I advise you to get hit and you'll learn quite fast. Now, besides the fact that you get more temporal stability and loot, why are tiers also so important? Well, if you get hit by a tier 4 drifter and you are wearing tier 1 leather armor, probably survive, but your armor will be torn to shreds. You people can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I noticed if I get hit by higher tier entities, my durability goes down way faster than my happiness on a Monday morning. Now, what's the point of all this rambling? Well, the TLDR version, higher tier armor lasts longer than lower tier armor, and if you don't have any armor, try not to get hit. Anyway, after in-game months of farming and reading the manual while my stability was recharging, I was looking for better tier tools and armor. And yes, I already reached the Bronze Age. For those wondering, you have different ways to reach it, but for me, and after looking at the other options, this is the best way. You have to find tin ore, and somehow in my mind there was a small tin vein, a very small one that is, but it was just enough to create 30 bronze ingots. To create bronze, you have to mix copper and tin by a 90% to 10% ratio. Or simply said, for every unit of tin in a crucible, you also need to add 9 units of copper. If you're not sure how much you need, then just add 1 tin nugget and then keep adding 1 copper nugget at a time until you have the pop-up message that says you'll create a bronze ingot. And as bronze allows you to create tier 3 tools, it also allows you to go to the next stage, which is the Iron Age. Now, I either had the choice to search for more tin and stay in the Bronze Age for a bit, or go straight to the Iron Age. Considering I have enough bronze to make that step, it would be pointless to stay on the Bronze Age a little longer. So, I was on my way to find iron. Now, iron cannot be found by simply prospecting for iron. I discovered that through panning, ironically enough, as I had a couple of iron nuggets. Iron is found in specific rock formations. And considering I'm in a main granite biome, for me that was hematite. So the only thing I had to do was look for that, and oh lucky me, I happened to already have prospected that a while ago while looking for other resources. So I took my bronze pickaxe, some food, and went to that area. And instead of digging down like last time, I instead looked for a cave. Why, you might ask? Well, because there is a chance that the cave would lead deep down and save me a lot of trouble from digging down, and maybe, just maybe, there would already be a vein visible. Why work hard if you can work smart? And after a couple of minutes, I found a cave that goes deep. And to prove my point, I got what I needed. Now, with the Iron Age close by, the only thing I had to do was farm as much iron as I could and forge myself some iron ingots. But as usual, things in Vintage Story aren't always that simple. First, I did find some weird bronze spiders that are quite easy to kill, but there are a lot of them, so it's easy to get overwhelmed. And with a big iron load in my inventory, I didn't want to take the risk and went back with what I got. Secondly, you can't simply craft iron ingots like you would craft copper or bronze. No, they have to add some extra steps, and just like in real life, it also makes sense. But more on that in the next video. As there are a lot of steps to take care before you can start smelting iron, I'd rather explain it in a separate video, because it took me a while to finally get everything done. As usual, I hope you liked the video, and if you did, leave a like and a comment, and for the fancy people around here, do subscribe. And if you didn't like the video, well, thank you for wasting 10 minutes of your life watching this turd.